Hey everybody! I'm coming to you with a quick video on how I mix my Genesis heat set paint to what consistency. Every paint I have at a slightly different consistency depending on what layer it is. For my blue undertones, I have the paint extremely thin. It's kind of hard to see how thin it is, but you can see when it's like shallow right there on the edge, it's pretty much like water with a little tint to it. It's like colored water. That's how much it is. See, you can see the red paintbrush through the paint. That's how thin it is. So like this is for my blues, and you do not want to make blue dark or very pigmented, because blue soaks into the vinyl and will stain it, and it will be impossible to get off. You cannot strip blue paint that's really dark that's soaked into the vinyl. And so I do this really thin, like probably 2 tablespoons of the paint thinner, and then with a little like toothpick dab, like a couple toothpick dabs of the blue, and just like mix it in until it's just colored like water. So that's what I do for my blues. That's for the undertones and for the veins, and I build up the color of the blues, and it can take probably about like 3 layers of this blue to get the blue that I want to have on my dolls, just so it's an undertone, not so it's like a blue mark on my baby. So yeah, I always make the blue very thin. The next paint I have is this blush color, and as you can see, you cannot see brushes or anything through the paint. So this is pretty much like milk, and a lot of people say like mix your paints like milk. You can make certain paints like milk. This is for my blushing, so I take a paintbrush and put it on the cheeks of the doll or wherever I'm blushing, and then I take a cosmetic wedge that's clean and dry, and I dab all around it, and then so to get most of the paint off, but there'll be a thin base layer of pink left on the kit. So you want to have your blushing a little bit thicker so it will be brightly pigmented, but not blotchy, not so thick that you're like painting with acrylics. So yeah, that's about milk consistency. And so I do all of my washes. Like when I paint a doll, I paint base layers. I do a neutralizing layer, and then I do the veins, I do the blue undertones, and then the undertone modeling layers, and then I add the red modeling, and then I go ahead and add a lot of skin color washes, which washes mean covering your whole kit. Like what I do is either I put it on a cosmetic wedge and I dab all around the kit with the color, or I paint it on and then dab the most of it off with a clean cosmetic wedge. And so I add like yellow and pink and maybe brown, depending on the skin color I want to achieve. And once I build up a pretty good layer of a realistic skin tone, I go ahead and I add this peachy white color, which I think in Bountiful Baby it is like skin color 1 or something. 01, or I don't remember what it is, but it's mixed skin color already for the white Caucasian babies. And so this is as thick probably as the blush, and this is not a wash layer. This is not a layer that I'm gonna put all over the doll and dab it off, because this is too thick. If I put this on my doll, like as you can see how it's mixing up, the paint is like, it's like really thick in there because like the thinner is not mixing well with it because there's a lot of paint in here. And this layer I put, let me see if I have the sponge here. I put on a modeling sponge. Sorry, my painting area is very messy, but I put on this modeling sponge. I put that skin color on here, and then I dab it on my kit. And I do that just like I'm doing modeling. And that's after I do a lot of skin layers. So it's like the doll is pretty much almost done. And then I go ahead and do that as I'm like I'm doing modeling. And then if it's a little bit too thick, because sometimes I can't get the right consistency and it is pretty thick, it's thicker than milk. And so I dabbed it on there, and sometimes it could be a little chalky because it has a lot of paint on it. I go ahead and I just take a cosmetic wedge, like the back of it, and I lightly just brush over it, just like this, like no pressure at all, just to get the chalkiness to blend in a little bit. And so that is how I mix my skin color. But like I said, I'm not using it to put all over the kit. So then once I do have that layer on of like modeling of skin color, all it does is add a layer of depth to your doll. So like you have like all the undertones and like the skin color, and then you add that onto it, and it sits on top of all those other colors, and it makes your doll look like it has the depth to it because there's like a color like sitting on top of all the rest of the colors, making your doll look like it has more depth. That's just how I paint. That's what I've seen and discovered by painting so far. Everybody's techniques will change and grow and be different. So maybe in a couple years I won't do that layer anymore. But for now, that's how I achieve this skin look. And actually I have the doll right here that is almost finished. And he is a newborn skin color look. My other dolls are more pale, I guess, like not as much red, because I was trying to get a newborn skin look with him. But that is his skin look. Yeah, so if the biggest question people have is like, what's the consistency I use for most of the paints or for the washes? The washes I do are pretty much like pigmented water. Like I might add, excuse me, a little bit more paint than, I'm going to swirl it around so you can see what it is mixed. So like that's how thin it is. But for washes, I'll add a little bit more paint than that. And obviously I won't be using blue, but yeah, depending on what colors I'm using. So if I'm using like yellow, I might make it a little tiny bit more thicker, just like skim milk. That's how I use my washes, as like skim milk. So for like washes, when I put them all over the baby, I won't use paint this thick. As you can see, it's sticking to the bottom. That is too thick. Don't make your paint this thick if you're doing washes. And washes are the main thing you're going to be doing for your whole doll, like, because you're building up lots and lots of layers. And so, especially building up those layers, you don't want them thick because they will just be blotchy, and then it will build up on the blotchiness, and then it'll make it more blotchy. So always make it thin. Always start out with super thin. And if it's too thin, you can always build up more. Always do like 4 or 5 layers of that color to achieve that look. That's definitely okay to do that. Will make your baby have more depth, have it be more smooth and realistic looking. And yeah, it takes a long time, but having it thin is definitely worth it in the long run. So I hope that helped some. Let me know in the description or in the comments if you have any more questions I can answer for you. I hope it's helpful. Let me know if you want to see other videos of different paints or how to paint, stuff like that. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.